Right. Guys, what's going on today? We're going to be answering three big questions I've constantly been getting asked about, which is about integrating strength, fighting, fitness, and essentially the questions on live, fight, shoot. Okay, that's really where that all comes from. For you guys, if you're just tuning in, my name is John Valentine. I teach firearms and combatives, and yeah, guys. And I've recently partnered with a friend of mine, Nick Delgadillo from Starting Strength. And it was his brainchild. He always had this idea of bringing together the world of fighting, the world of shooting, the world of lifting, and incorporating that as one proper camp for people to take. So that way, essentially, people can walk away, they can take a class, and essentially get what they need as far as like developing that self-reliance lifestyle. Okay, and notice, guys, it's a we're talking about this from a lifestyle standpoint. We're not going to be making it where it has to be the be all end all. If you're not putting up big weight or you're not doing this or not doing that, that all of a sudden you're just unprepared for life, and you're just going to be killed in the streets as soon as you step out into the world. So give me 1 second. All right. So with that in mind, guys, let's get into the first big question here. Let's Yeah, my headphones are super loud, and I'm just like damn near gonna go deaf if I don't if I don't adjust that soon enough. So let's go ahead and fix this. So also make sure we're sharing this on YouTube and sharing it on Facebook and whatnot. But ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I just want you guys to know that I'll be cutting the stream off at around the 10-minute mark. I'm going to cut the stream off, and we're going to start working to get everybody to YouTube. So if you guys check out the link, I'm going to go ahead. It's if you guys go to YouTube and just search John Valentine Combatives, you'll find me. Okay, that I'm pretty easy to find, and Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, but what I want you guys, as far as these videos and these information, these kind of these impromptu live presentations, right? We're gonna migrate everybody to YouTube. So we kind of start working towards ditching Meta. It's not that I think Meta is a bad platform by per se, but it's just the uh, when people are looking for specific answers to specific problems, they tend to go to YouTube. And whereas Facebook, Instagram, people are kind of using that as essentially mindless entertainment. Okay. So we want thought provoking stuff. We got to get people to where the thoughts are. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the link here, youtube.com/@ John V _actual. All right. Hello, Delise. How are you? All right, guys. So let's get into the first question here. All right, guys, and if you're doing all these things, let me know in the comments. Or write in the comments as far as like what system you're doing, why you're using that system. What if you're training combatives or some type of self defense martial art? Let me know in the comments which one it is. All right. So all right. So why is strength necessary for self defense? Okay, guys, let's do this. Let's talk about why people even get into self-defense. Um why do people feel the need to take on something to defend themselves? You've got two types of practitioners typically in the martial art world. You got somebody who's looking for a fun hobby to do. Maybe they're looking to expand their social network, or they just need something to do so that way they can kind of get out of their space and get out of their head, forget about life struggles of bills and family and whatnot, and they want to just do something fun and practical. So typically you see people sign up to something like a MMA gym, martial arts of any kind, right? Sword fighting, Aikido, all kinds of stuff. Then you got people who are very, very serious about getting more prepared as far as dealing with a violent altercation. And I think people, we live in a world that's where we can outsource everything these days. I mean, everything is instant. Everything is like we can get a service. I mean, even shopping these days. I mean, it's pretty awesome where it's like you have the Instacart of the world, you have DoorDash and all kinds of things. But truly believe that when it comes to self protection, you can't outsource it. And I say that because when everything becomes at the most extreme levels, okay, it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire with a fully paid tactical team, okay, like they're doing those people are there for the money. They're not really there for the cause per se. And at some point, things are going to get bad enough to where even well paid security guards are going to abandon you. And that's just a fact of life. And if you really want to be at a point where you protect yourself, I mean, that has to be your responsibility. You have to be willing to take that on. All right, guys. So, so I think people realize that, and that's one of the things. And what they've come to realize, and they may not articulate it this way, is that they're coming from a standpoint of my life has value, and I'm willing to protect it, and I'm willing to risk all of this that comes with training just so I can make sure that I have that sense of ownership of my life. Okay, and I also believe that, and if you guys agree or not, let me know in the comments. But I believe that if you cannot defend it, if you cannot protect it, you don't truly own it. And I think this is part of what the founding fathers. I mean, property rights was a big deal for them, and I think that's part of why the Second Amendment is one of many. Okay, why the Second Amendment was the second thing that was put on the Bill of Rights. I mean, that's how important it was. It was able to say what you need to say, practice the religion you want to practice, associate or disassociate with the people you don't want to be with, but also you're able to protect your life, protect your property, and defend yourself. So let's talk about that, right? It's like your life has value. All right. Now, these days things are a lot different than they were back then. It's like the state has a monopoly on the use of violence, and that's just what it is. But when we start talking about self defense, strength in particularly, strength is essential for self defense because it directly translates to our ability to and in terms of attributes, right? Because technique, speed, timing, all those things are attributes. Okay. And then strength is essentially like an underlying condition of like how effective those things are. Like I understand like people can technique can make you feel very, very strong. And it is. I mean, especially if you're fighting from angles, and that's one of the beautiful things about jujitsu, where it teaches you to fight, teaches you basically to fight people with all of your strongest body parts against all of their weakest body parts. Okay, like having your hips drive against just the simple elbow joint, or turning the rotator cuffs on a shoulder using all of your entire core. um, but so as far as it directly translates to our ability in terms of attributes, and as well as body control, and I'm not meaning the sense of just controlling your own body. And that's really important. You need to make sure you have balance and accuracy as far as your movement, but you're also able to control somebody else. That ability to control them and hold them, that's really going to directly affect your ability to defend yourself in a real world context, such as you want to make sure that you're isolating the arms, fighting the hands. I talked about this in one of my previous videos where I was saying the priorities work, the kind of the three steps where you're going to fight for position, you're going, or excuse me, control the weapon. Okay, so again, right, we're talking about body control. That means you're controlling your ability to access it, and also mitigating or preventing them from accessing theirs if they choose to, or if that's their goal. And then you're going to achieve a dominant position or fight for dominant position, and then you're going to do damage at every chance. So strength is an underlying condition in all those three things. Now there's if you're not able to control yourself, if like there's no hope in being able to control another human being if you can't control yourself physically. Okay, if you can't discipline yourself to go and get the reps that you need to get, whether it's you're talking about going to practice or getting into the gym. I mean, it's like the idea of you're going to be able to control a fully resistant human being. I mean, it's just a hopeless cause. Now the other reason that we start talking about self-defense or strength is as a contributor to self-defense is that it's essential. It's the top causes of mortality in the United States are all health related. Okay, it's totally true. Everything, it's like even medical malpractice. I mean, if we counted that on the top 10 reasons for for mortality, it would be either number two or three. And I kind of reference the if you go back and look at it from the statistics from 2019, I think that's more accurate. I think that's before the medical field really became truly politicized, where they started saying that the beer bug was essentially the cause of all. Like this dude has, he's got a shark attack and his leg is bitten off by a shark, and they're saying that it was the beer bug that got him. So it was like it's like so laughably false. It's even sad. But so I tend to defer to the 2019 top 10 causes of mortality in the United States in terms of looking at that. And we look at those, we see, it was like every one of them except for suicide attempts. Um, it was like the top 10 were all health related. Number one being heart disease, cancers, and a lot of things that's going on. And I understand the timing of this podcast too, because it's like no one's really focused on their health and fitness these days, especially in this time period. It's like it's funny. We look at the winter and the fall as like the flu season, but you got a candy holiday, a binge eating candy holiday, a binge eating holiday, another followed by another binge eating holiday, followed by a milk and cookies holiday, followed by a binge drinking holiday, and then we're calling this the sick season. I mean, like, what are we really doing for our immune system at this time, right? So, um, let's talk about this now. With that in mind, the next thing we're going to talk about is, the other reason you want to work on your strength is that, you know, strength is a factor in durability, and if you're going to be training seriously, you're going to experience injury. Okay, every form of physical training has inherent risk. Okay, I mean, when people look at cheerleading, it kind of seems like a very feminine sport, things like that, but that's like that cheerleading is like one of the reasons that people go to the ER the most. It's a dangerous sport, most made dangerous sport in America, hands down. Um, so in terms of strength and durability, what that's going to make you do is you're going to get injured less, first of all. And then when you do get injured, you recover faster. And the same thing applies to when you get sick. If you have excess hypertrophy, you got excess muscle mass, it's going to help you in terms of recovering from those illnesses. So you want to make sure that you are um, building muscle. And I get it, right? Muscle is it's expensive. Okay, meat is at an all time high right now in terms of pricing, and physiologically, it's just expensive to maintain, because if you're not getting in that, let's call it the at least the minimum of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, that's really hard to maintain. It's hard to stay consistent with. It's just it's taxing on the body, right? It's taxing on your time, effort. It's effort intensive. Okay, so I get it. Now let's talk about now. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about um, let's talk about integrating this with combatives. Okay. The thing to remember with combatives training, and I think people will under my I can't undersell this enough. People will I at least when I came into this, combatives training was kind of silly in terms of that it wasn't real training unless we were doing stuff in the parking lot on asphalt with broken glass, uphill, backwards on our hands. Just really ridiculous stuff. There was never a real progression in terms of like, how do I take somebody with zero skill and then at least arm them with the ability to get better by themselves. Okay. I mean, when we start looking at success in combatives, when we start looking at like what does success look like as an instructor, for me, I think the marker of success is that people continue to train in your absence. If they need me there the entire time, then it's not really successful, right? I'm not really impacting their lives to change them and modify their behavior. Basically, just providing an event for them that feels good. So, hey guys, so that's we're at the 15-minute mark. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram or any other platform, I'm about to cut that feed, and I want you guys to come over to YouTube. Okay, just search John Valentine combatives. All right, let's. Yep. All right, cool. So now that the feed has been removed, so where was I? All right, so now we're going to be talking more about the. Uh, let's talk a little bit now as far as like the difference between combatives and martial arts training. Okay, um, you know, combatives is different from martial arts in terms of martial arts has the goal of what's called we'll call it propagation. Okay, we want people to essentially dive deeper into that martial art and just kind of work within the with it work and fighting within the context of that martial art. So for instance, if like, why are there no world class strikers in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu? Well, it's because their main training method is live ground grappling. Why are there no world class grapplers in boxing? Because they box. Okay, so that's just kind of a subtle, kind of like a surface level view as far as what that means. It means like they're propagating. And then if we terms of like where that why that takes a false adamance in terms of dealing with self-defense, because I kind of take a lot of heat from other jiu-jitsu guys where it's like, hey, look, the um, old school was more focused on fighting, and then people will kind of take that in terms of like, well, does that mean that the old school is better? And I was like, well, not exactly. What I'll say is that the old school jiu-jitsu, that they were just more focused on fighting, and that's it. In terms of the pure grappling ability, I mean, the fact that we've introduced the sport to the level that we have is just like like the modern jujitsu is head and shoulders above where we were. I mean, believe it, accept it. It's true. It just is what it is. There's like a man, you have blue belts now with strength and conditioning coaches. I mean, it's just crazy. So, and to say that the old school jujitsu is better, I won't say it's better. It's just not. It's just not. The idea is that they were focused. Their azimuth was entirely focused on fighting. So that's why you had situations where you have like a Marilla Bustamante beat the hell out of what's his name, Matt Linlin in their fight, where Matt Linlin was a better wrestler, but all the takedowns came from Marilla Bustamante because he had his grappling in context, or he had a strike set up in context where he can close that distance better and get the dominant position. And dominant position meaning a top position. I mean, when I first started jiu-jitsu, they used to call the guard a dominant position, and that's just not the case. When people have gravity on their side and they're on top and they're hitting you really hard in the face, the guard is not a dominant position. It's not a place you want to be. So you want to get on top as soon as possible, so that way you essentially, it's like if someone's fighting between you and a hard place, I mean that's a good thing for you. I mean, you're using the ground, the wall, what I call kind of pinned positions where they are between you and a hard place. That's a control agent, so that's going to make your strikes a lot more effective. Now let's talk about now another big question I get in terms of what's the biggest mistake I see in firearms training. Okay, this is going to be kind of short. All right, there's really a lot of different ways to skin the cat. I think a lot of people, they get caught up in the what I call it the prescription description prescription, right? People are very good in describing the problem or describing what you need to do in terms of like how you need to do that. People like there it's like it's like people will get their torches and pitchforks and just kind of like fight that out, right? Imagine how many people will be like, oh well, you need to do fitness exactly this way, or I think the only thing that works in terms of any physical skills is consistency over time. That's as far as the results formula. Results is equal to consistency over time, point blank. Okay, I've seen people try a bunch of different systems in terms of training, and seen and experienced it myself. And really, the only thing that really works is adherence to a program, adherence to a process, continuing that process over time. And it's the same thing with firearms training. The only thing that I think um, is still kind of lingering within the firearms world is that people are teaching tactics and skills at the same time. And I think what happens is you're just going to end up being really bad at both. Because remember, tactics are it's essentially a plan. Okay, it's a desired end state. And there's all kinds of ways to get a desired end state. And you're using a specific tool that requires a high level of precision and skill to apply within extremist circumstances. So if you are thinking about what's the solution to this problem, and then also thinking about how do I use this tool in my hand to solve this problem, I think what happens is you're end up multitasking. And I don't care what kind of person you think you are, people in general. This is just the human condition. Okay. And I understand that there are exceptions to the rule, but remember, exceptions to the rule do not change the rule themselves. It does not change the nature. Okay. And the nature of humans is that we do not multitask well. So what do you want to do if whether you're talking about fighting, whether you're talking about your conditioning or especially your shooting, is that you want as much of that as possible to be autonomous. You want that to be a subconscious skill. So that way you just apply as you need to apply. So you solve what you need to solve. And, that problem gets solved and stays solved. All right. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the three big questions I get in terms of combatives, in terms of lifting and shooting. Now, guys, if you want to learn more about this, okay, you want to get into this, you want to understand that there's more to the mix in terms of just instead of just fighting or just shooting or just fitness. If you want to learn how to put them together, you want to walk away with a finely tuned BS filter, then guys, I'm gonna put a link in the comments here. This is the Lift Shoot Fight course. It's going to be happening next month, December 17th at Wichita, Texas. Uh, I'm very, very fortunate, very excited. To have to do this for the second time with Starting Strength. So I'm going to be working with the finest mind in the modern fitness industry, Mark Ripito, and my good friend Nick Delgadillo. Guys, it's a fantastic course. I took my son to it. Very, very low threat. Okay, if you're like there was, it was interesting when we did the course. There was someone good at maybe one thing, but in terms of like bringing them together, that's where the challenges lied. I think, again, right, everyone's kind of looking for that silver bullet, and I get it. It's not because they're consciously doing that. I think we're all limited for time and money, and we're kind of looking for the thing that's going to give us the most results for the least amount of time. I get it. I get it. So this is why I think but I think it also re-emphasizes the point that you guys should try to sign up for this course, because if you're trying to get stronger so that way you're more capable of protecting yourself, or you're learning to fight so you're more capable, or you're learning to shoot so that way you can solve resistance problems at range, then guys, I mean, this is why you want to kind of come to you want to come to coaches, because they've already reorganized the information for you. They've packaged together in a way that is going to be a distilled version of what you need. And guys, I mean, and I guarantee you guys, if you take this class, you're going to get enough material to where you're going to stay busy the entire year. It's not variety, it's consistency. And I think a lot of people think it's like, oh, well, I got to do this thing and that thing and that thing and all this, and then add everything to it. And it's not, guys. It's a very, very simple formula. You just got to do it over time. You got to do it even when you don't like it, and you got to commit to it. So yeah, guys, if you can join us at Lift Shoot Fight, December 17th, Wichita Falls, Texas, at the Mecca of Starting Strength. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. You guys have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments section. And you guys know how to get a hold of me. John Valentine Combatives, just do a Google search, anything like that. Or you can go to Instagram. I'm at JohnV_actual. And yeah, guys, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So yeah, just hit me up if you have any questions. And you guys have a great day. Take care.